Hey there, and welcome back to the episode of A Cup of Joe. My name is Joe Escobedo. Very excited on the show today. We have Will McLaughlin. Thanks so much for being on the show, Will.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So, Will is the Business Development Manager Southeast Asia for the ZICO Group, as well as a managing member of the BD Roundtable, and you're based in Bangkok, Thailand. Is that right?
That's right. Been here for 10 years now.
10 years, my goodness. You and me both, my friend. So wonderful. Like I said, very excited because we've been, had the chance to catch up recently about the BD Roundtable, a community of, legal and business development professionals that you've created recently. So really want to hear your story today on how you were able to generate six figures USD in projected revenue from referrals just from that community. So I'd love to hear more of your story. How did it happen and how did it come to be? But I guess let's start off. What was the rationale behind starting BD Roundtable?
Well, I guess like most things, they're just filling a hole in the market. There really wasn't a community for legal marketers and BD professionals like myself. Sure, there were a few different sort of associations and formal groups, but those cost hundreds of dollars to join a year. And I just wanted a community where we could chit chat and build off of everyone's collective knowledge. So that's why we started the BD Roundtable, just to fill that need.
It's quite interesting because you see this now, and I'm a big fan of this, is like niche communities. So yes, you can have a community of like marketing and, business development professionals, and there are those that exist. But like you said, the nuances of legal space, particularly in Southeast Asia, I mean, I'm guessing have to be very different from all the others. So, things like compliances, you have legal restrictions you have to deal with. So I'm guessing that played a role as well.
Yeah. I mean, those communities like legal marketers associations and all of those, they get very high level and theory based just because there's so many different types of people. Sometimes they have tax people, sometimes they have like engineering companies. But I have questions about law firms, right? Like legal directory submissions are something very specific to law firms. And there's ways to make that process a lot easier. So I wanted to talk about that with someone who's in my shoes. So that's why it's having these very dedicated communities, which has been so helpful for me and the members.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, you started it out of Bangkok, Thailand. And last time we spoke, you had over 280 members from over 28 countries, 200 different law firms, which is mind-boggling. I would love to hear kind of how you're able to grow it from basically from scratch to what it is now.
Yeah, so I started this in February, pre-COVID, right? And I just threw up the website in a day, a very simple WordPress website. I reached out to some of my core BD contacts. I said, hey, I want to build this community. Would you like to join? What would you like to see? We got sort of our beta testers. We developed a Slack group. So that's the heart of the community where we chit chat with people. Again, not the traditional social media type form where you post something and someone may respond. This is sort of a text-based chat. And yeah, we just slowly built. And, as these communities typically happen, I know someone who knows someone and they recommend someone. And then we just built it through there. So we have a nice core group of community members who are engaged with us. And, I'm looking to sort of build that tribe of very dedicated people.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we talked about last time is the dedicated people, because I've seen this a lot in terms of membership groups. You could have, millions of members, and then you only have like, 3 to 5 active members, which is always an issue having a membership organization. It doesn't matter what kind of field you're in. So how do you keep members active once they've actually joined the community?
Yeah, so we have two types of members. So in my mind, I classify them as two types of members. We have the members who signed up to access the content, and that's fine. So that's where that 280 number goes, and they're from over 32 countries now. And then I have the Slack group members, and those are about 90 people from that original, 280 who are very active and are asking questions and are posting in Slack. And so that's where I, look at the numbers and the statistics and engagement. Um, Community engagement is difficult. You can just Google community engagement. There are consultants who specialize on community engagement. But at the end of the day, you have to lead by example. So showing the members what they should be asking and how they should be acting. So I'm trying to facilitate questions and content and things that I would like other members to do. And that's been working, but everyone's busy. So
Yeah.
it, but what's nice is with our Slack community, we'll have someone ask a question, and within an hour, you'll have 3 or 4 different people who have decades of experience responding to them, giving them practical advice. So sure, you could Google the answer and spend hours looking and finding the information, but here our group is very reactive, and that's what I'm looking to facilitate, is a dedicated group of community individuals. I don't care if we have 3,000, 5,000, 6,000, because this is not a paid community. I'm not monetizing this at all. So it's just there to build a community.
I think it's a very good point. I think one of the restrictions of building communities is always the bandwidth resources, because you said it's not a paid initiative. You're doing kind of the goodness of your heart and things like that. So, it goes back to efficiency as well. You have a very, very lean team. I imagine it was just you when you started. Now you probably have some team members supporting you, but how are you able to manage it on a regular basis when you have such lean resources?
Yeah, so let's see. So I normally get into the office fairly early. So before I started this, I would come in about an hour, hour and a half early, purely to beat the traffic, right? So I'd get into the office and I was just sitting down, and I tended just to do some work or maybe play around on YouTube or whatever. And I was like, well, I might as well be productive with these 2 hour and a half. So that's when I started the community. So all the work I do is in those, hour and a half, 2 hours a day. So I've built this just from that time. And now one of the issues with having sort of a global community is the time zone. So I've asked for help for different hosts. So we have a host in London, a host in Dubai, and a host in Chicago to help bear that load.
No, I think that makes sense. Like I said, having those people who can take care of people in a particular time zone, like you said, the more you scale it up, the more you need those resources outside of your particular time zone. And also mix things up as well, because from my understanding, you have different guest hosts as well. I know you create like the podcast and interview series, which is usually your beautiful face, but then you have a mix of other people who are contributing to it now. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want it to be a one-man show. So obviously the first few episodes that we did, because we we bring on legal industry experts just to ask questions and have the members do some Q&A sessions, some time with them. And, the first 17, 20 episodes was just me, because it was just me. And now, like I said, I brought on 3 other hosts. So we're going to start building up that and let the community become what it becomes,
And one thing I really like that you did last time we were talking about is the format. And correct me if I'm mistaken, you have the interview format, which is kind of a recorded podcast style with the legal experts, and then you have like an open Q&A with community. Is that correct? With that?
Yeah. So yeah, because this is I wanted to bring some added value to the members. So I needed to find a way to give them some special benefits, right? So when we do a call, the first 15, 20 minutes is just an interview with me and the legal industry expert, and that gets put up on YouTube, and that's public for everyone. But then after that 20-minute interview, then we transition into a live Q&A. So we have members, BD Roundtable members, who are joining the call. They're listening in on the interview, and then we open it up to do more of a Q&A style session. And we keep those calls minimal. So we only have like 10 members on. So that is sort of a round table discussion style. And people get a chance to ask questions. They're not trying to like, oh, I have a question. Everyone gets a chance to interact with our expert. Yeah, it's great.
No,
and it seems to be working really well.
No, I think I really like it for a couple different reasons. I think, as marketers, a lot of times when you're doing demand gen webinars and things like that, you try to think of the most amount of people you want. You want to get thousands of people signed up for your thing, but I love that you limit it to only say 10 people on a particular session, because once again, as a participant, it makes me feel more special. Gives me more time to ask questions. So I think that exclusivity does help, particularly in terms of members. Like you said, you have the public interviews, which are available on YouTube and other channels. And then you have kind of the private Q&A, which you can only get if you're attending that session. You're one of the 10 people. So I think it makes you feel a bit special as a member. And I think it adds that additional layer to it.
Yeah, and that back and forth. I don't know if you watched any of the Q&A sessions. They're interactive, and that's the whole name, BD Roundtable, right? It's a roundtable session. And ultimately, my goal for these sessions is for people to take notes. I was tired of all of the high-level theory-based discussion. I want people to ask questions and say, hey, I have this problem. How do I do this? And then the industry expert says, oh, we'll just do this, 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 and this, and check out this website. And then you can do this, and then do this. So my goal, when I'm preparing these interviews, is for people to take notes, and that seems to be the case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in terms of the topics itself, you have different legal experts and different topics. How do you decide the topic for each of these sessions?
Well, whatever issue I'm facing in my personal job, or in my job at ZICO, I tend to just, I need to know how to do this. So let me just find someone, interview them, and learn. So that's so the topics are real world. Hey, these are problems, these are pain points that people like me are facing. Let's talk about them. Let's find solutions. So that's how I come up with content, really. So the content tends to be focused more on technology side of things, because again, you can read a blog post about marketing, you can do all that sort of stuff, but how do you actually set up all of the systems? So let's do a demo and do, okay, Google Analytics. How do we walk through that? How do we analyze your law firm's website from the back end? So we bring on people to show us step by step how to do it.
I think the idea of a demo is quite interesting as well, because once again, you're adding a different element. You have kind of the Q&A, you have kind of the practical questions, and you have someone taking you through step by step what that looks like, which to your point, you can watch it on YouTube, but if you have the opportunity to ask an expert right there and say, okay, wait, hold a minute, why did you do that? Or, what if I try this instead, does this work as well? So I think it adds that different dimension to everything that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. In the world of YouTube, really, you can find anything you need to know how to do on YouTube, but you don't get that face-to-face. So this is where we're trying to fill that need. All free, by the way, so yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Once again, I think this is, I love, catching with you, because you say it is free, but, you don't monetize it. But I think a lot of questions people are asking is, how were you able to, going back to what you said at the beginning, how are you able to generate that 6-figure USD projected revenue from referrals just in the community? Like you said, that was not your intention, I know, starting off, but that was a nice outcome. How did that come to be?
Yeah, so all of those sort of referrals that we get, because the BD Roundtable is just a collection of law firms and the BD people. And if there's someone in the Netherlands and say, hey, I have a client who's looking to do this. You guys are in Bangkok, right? Can you help out? Why, sure we can, right? So, building that connection, because the legal marketers always preach to their lawyers, hey, you need to build your referrals, you need to build your connections, you need to build your network, but we never practice what we preach. So this is an opportunity for the BD community in law firms to get to know one another. We're stronger together, and pass on all that work. So we as a BD team can be a little bit more proactive and bring clients into our firms, as opposed to just cold calling someone and doing all of that. So referrals is a huge benefit of these sort of online communities, and you're building those face-to-face, virtual face-to-face connections. So you kind of trust the person, as opposed to using some of those other referral platforms that you may find online, where you have like hundreds of law firms signed up.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense, particularly in Asia, when people want to work with people they know. It's as simple as that. And if they get to know you through the community, then obviously they're going to say, hey, talk to Will and the guys at ZICO Group, I met them at this BD Roundtable, really cool guys, very knowledgeable, check them out. So I think it's a really good point. And I imagine once again, it goes back to what I mentioned at the very beginning, which is the nicheness of what you're doing, because it is, BD and marketing professionals in the legal space, and it's not others. You're very, very tight knit in terms of, the topics you have, that the challenges are quite very similar, versus, like you said, if you're opening up and you had engineering and you had accounting folks who may not have a similar scope. So I imagine that helps in terms of those tight knit relationships as well.
Yeah, so we have those, we're building those relationships. The legal community is small to start with.
Yeah.
Right. But the business development teams never knew who was on the other side of that law firm. So we know all the lawyers, but we don't know our peers. So this is a good way to do that. Another benefit of the sort of referrals is when we interview industry experts, like we're going to be interviewing you coming up as an expert about content creation, right? We post that online, and then you will comment on that, and then all of your connections who may know you will see you talking about this topic, and they may need a law firm, or they may need someone to help. So it's all about those sort of ancillary relationships, and those, it sort of compounds exponentially.
Absolutely. I mean, even in the case with us, we have a mutual connection who, we were speaking, I caught up with recently, and he's like, I talked to Will. I was like, well, I've already catch up with Will, but I really got to catch up with Will because, my friend is saying, okay, mutual connections, like, got to talk to Will. So I think it does help kind of that halo effect, like you were saying, people who engage on it. Obviously, you get access to their community, you get access to their kind of network as well, because they're promoting on your behalf. And I think you do it very, very well done in terms of the production. So it's you have nice kind of visuals and nice kind of thumbnails and nice kind of editing to it. So it's something that you want to share. It's a very well produced piece.
Right. And also, just don't forget about YouTube, right? You never know who's going to stumble upon that. One of our referrals from the content found us through YouTube. They say, hey, I saw your content about this. You guys operate in Southeast Asia. We're looking to set up an entity in Southeast Asia. Could you help us? So then, okay, the BD goes into action, and then refers all of that. So you never know. Just like going to those old-fashioned networking events. Remember when we used to have those pre-COVID? Yeah. I would tend to go to those because, again, you never know who you're going to meet. So having an online facility to find those people has been very advantageous monetarily as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the topic of YouTube, it's something I'm still trying to crack as well. I would love to hear kind of what's worked for you on YouTube. Obviously, you have custom-made thumbnails, which are beautiful and they stand out. Anything else? Any key learnings from publishing on YouTube?
YouTube, well, you got to get your descriptions dialed in, right? So you should be using sort of keyword research. You got to tag all that, but really it just goes down to the content. So keep the content short. Again, that's why we do the interviews on 15, 20-minute segments, and then the long form, save that just for the dedicated people. No one's going to watch an hour webinar on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then what I plan to do is, extract sound bites from, even that 20 minutes is long, right? Yeah. So exporting, when I have the free time, some of those nice sound bites and putting them on there. But yeah, thumbnail, obviously you gotta have a nice visual, and learn some editing software tips and tricks to try and bring some production value. There's a lot of free software that you can use. You don't need the Adobe, Premiere Pro, which is what I use. And I'm surprised I still have hair without pulling my hair out all the time editing that. But yeah, just have a go at it. Again, I'm not using YouTube as the main source of marketing. It's all word of mouth and LinkedIn. YouTube is just the added cherry on the top.
Okay, so that's it. Absolutely. And in terms of tools, one tool that I've found out quite recently that other people use is TubeBuddy, TubeBuddy. Is that okay? Cool.
That's on my list to look into. Yeah, but what there you can like dial in and say, okay, this content has this many views or this many engagement, and so you can really find a topic that is ripe for the picking there.
Absolutely, and it also gives you some good insights in terms of keyword research, going back to what you're saying in terms of tagging and that description. So Awesome. I'm going to try to stick within your framework, keep it nice and tight. So I think I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your insights. I learned a lot, as always. Anything else we're missing that you think is important to people building communities?
Building community, just go ahead and do it. You only need 150 core members to have a robust community. Don't be too gung-ho about the numbers. That really doesn't matter. You're ultimately trying to make everyone's lives better. So just really focus on those who want to engage with you.
Awesome. Sounds good. Last question is, how can people find out more about what you do?
Easiest way is LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll link to that, but you can also head over to bdroundtable.com and join our community if you so choose.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Will. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Pleasure to be here. I look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if you enjoyed today's interview, please feel free to share it with your colleagues, your bosses, anyone who might find it helpful. Thanks so much again for guys watching. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.